It's been over a month now since Jim Carrey made his now famous views on vaccines public on his social media Twitter account. During the run-up to the California Senate Bill 277, which was eventually signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown, Carrey took to Twitter and let his 15 million followers hear his thoughts. Carrey writes, "The CDC can't solve a problem they helped start. It's too risky to admit they have been wrong about mercury and thimerosal. They are corrupt. All we are saying is, take the neurotoxins out of the vaccines, make them toxin-free. History will show that this was a reasonable request." Carrey takes aim at the CDC, writing, "I believe in info surfacing about CDC and vaccine makers could make big tobacco look good." And finally, Carrey writes, "I repeat, I am pro-vaccine, anti-neurotoxin, as in Robert Kennedy Jr." Carrey's Twitter messages appeared well-researched and supported by doctors, scientists, and major public figures. Meanwhile, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been tirelessly making the rounds on mainstream television, community rallies, and numerous state houses to testify against the Centers for Disease Control.
CDC is a troubled agency. There's been 4 separate scathing federal studies about CDC in the lab. And I'm not talking about the whole agency, but the vaccines division.
However, in the end, it appeared that Carrey, Kennedy, and major public backlash did little to slow the pass of California Bill 277. Shortly after the bill's signing, Carrey took to Medium.com to fully express his thoughts. In his article, Carrey writes, "The pharmaceutical industry's web of influence doesn't end in Washington or Sacramento. This trillion-dollar industry perhaps has the greatest reach in Atlanta, where the Centers of Disease Control is located and where the revolving door spins in perpetuity." Later in the article, Carrey covers the CDC whistleblower Dr. William Thompson. Dr. William Thompson, who admitted that he and other officials at the agency fabricated and intentionally omitted data from a 2004 study that claimed there is no link between vaccines and autism. The mainstream press went into full attack mode. The word went out quickly to counter his stance. Completely ignoring Carrey's simple, well-researched, and proven points, the press was out for character assassination. The transparency was immediately clear, as some of the outlets ran the same headlines showing either a complete lack of journalism or the controlled message delivered from the top down. Weeks after Carrey's viral uproar, Congressman Bill Posey from Florida confirmed Carrey's concerns across the board with his testimony in the U.S. House of Representatives. Going on record, Posey highlighted Bombshell CDC whistleblower evidence that Carrey and a large portion of the United States public has suspected since August of 2014.
It's troubling to me that in a recent Senate hearing on childhood vaccinations, it was never mentioned that our government has paid out over $3 billion through a vaccine injury compensation program for children who have been injured by vaccinations. For these reasons, I bring the following matter to the House floor. In August 2014, Dr. William Thompson, a senior scientist at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, worked with a whistleblower attorney to provide my office with documents related to a 2004 CDC study that examined the possibility of a relationship between mumps, measles, rubella vaccines, and autism. In a statement released in August 2014, Dr. Thompson stated, "I regret that my co-authors and I omitted statistically significant information in our 2004 article published in the Journal of Pediatrics." End quote. Mr. Speaker, I respectfully request the following excerpts from the statement written by Dr. Thompson be entered into the record. Now quoting Dr. Thompson. "The adjusted race effect statistical significance was huge. All the authors and I met and decided sometime between August and September 2002 not to report any race effects for the paper. Sometime soon after the meeting, we decided to exclude reporting any race effects. The co-authors scheduled a meeting to destroy documents related to the study. The remaining 4 co-authors all met and brought a big garbage can into the meeting room and reviewed and went through all the hard copy documents that we had thought we should discard and put them in a huge garbage can. However, because I assumed it was illegal and would violate both FOIA and DOJ requests, I kept hard copies of all documents in my office and I retained all associated computer files. I believe we intentionally withheld controversial findings from the final draft of the pediatrics paper." End of quote of the doctor. Considering the nature of the whistleblower's documents, as well as the involvement of the CDC, a hearing and a thorough investigation is warranted. So I ask, Mr. Speaker, I beg, I implore my colleagues on the appropriations committees to please take such action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.